That is crazy.
Good stuff.
Yeah. You tired?
Yeah, I am tired.
Welcome to the Movies with Chill podcast. I'm your host, Chill. Today we'll be reviewing Poltergeist from 1982. Poltergeist is a supernatural horror movie directed by Tobe Hooper and written by Steven Speilberg, Michael Grais, and Mark Victor. Based on Sky Nights, a conceived horror sequel to Close Encounters of the Third Kind and activities of the Hermann House between February 3rd and March 10th of 1958.
Interesting.
And it's also based on a thing that happened in the 1800s as well. So there's like multiple sources this movie drew inspiration from. The Hermann House, skeptical of the whole thing, advised his family to stay calm and to keep the occurrences to themselves. He believed that some prankster teenagers got inside and tried to spook the family. It was important for him to keep things under control. But 5 days later, the same thing happened again. And then again and again and again. What happened, though?
Yeah, what did happen?
I think it was the chairs, like the real
inspiration.
Thing. Yeah.
And this is the 1800s, you said?
This is the 58.
58.
Mr. Herman watched in horror as bottles moved about his bedroom as if dragged by some unseen hand. This time he called the police. When police arrived, more bottles began popping throughout the home. They performed a series of tests to rule out radio transmissions or electrical disturbances, but the bottles were not...
I'm trying to shut it off. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
They performed a series of tests to roll out audio transmissions or electrical disturbances, but the bottles were not warm or otherwise charged. Whatever happened to them could not be explained with logic. On September 7th, a priest came to the home to bless it. Events happened 7 miles away from another infamous haunted home by the name of the Amity House.
Good stuff there.
Poltergeist from 1982 stars Craig T. Nelson, JoBeth Williams, Beatrice Straight, Dominique Dunne, Oliver Robin, Heather O'Rourke, and Michael McManus and Virginia Kiser. Poltergeist is about strange things begin to happen when a family moves to a newly built suburb. Today, as always, I am joined by David and Lee. How are you boys doing
What's
tonight?
up?
Oi, boys.
Oi, oi. Anything new going on with you guys this week? Any recommendations?
Let me think. Been watching some anime, so
Yeah.
kind of busy with that.
Yeah.
I started Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah?
I hadn't seen it. We're on season 2 now.
Don't you have enough to watch?
I know. It's amazing. I do fit it all in.
I don't know how you do it.
I don't know either.
I struggle to get the movies in every 2 weeks.
I just do it all in one take.
My Halloween bug kicked in.
Yeah.
I had the time to watch anything, but I have started a book called We Used to Live Here. Basically what happens is this couple moves into a brand new house. I think it's like New England area. Probably about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. This woman's waiting on her significant other to show up, and at the door there's a family. She's kind of reluctant to let them in. Ooh, Royals are up.
Yep.
Nice.
2-1.
Heck yeah.
She opens the door, husband of this family of 3 kids and then a wife. He's like, hey, so we're going on a big trip, but this is kind of my last time in this area, and this is my childhood home. Would you mind if I come in and check out the house for the last time?
What would you do in that situation, Dave?
I don't know, man. What would you do?
I think I'd have to be there. I'd have to see the person.
Right.
I don't know. I'd have to have the vibe.
Yeah, there's something off about it.
Youngest is like 7 or 8, and then there's like a 10 and 12-year-old, and then a husband and wife. Like, it starts snowing, and it's just like, we're just going to be like 15 minutes in and out, and it's going to be good. And during this time, the youngest goes in the basement and disappears. They can't find her. And that's what happens in the first like 2 chapters.
Wow.
But it's pretty solid. Pretty solid. Why did we pick Poltergeist?
I picked Poltergeist because that movie terrified me when I was a child.
Yeah.
I saw that. It was probably a year after it came out, and so I was 9.
Wow.
Oof.
Yeah.
No.
I watched this movie a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't have.
No,
No,
you
it
probably
was
shouldn't
terrifying.
It really didn't
That's why
bother
you're
me.
desensitized to everything.
I think so. I mean, because it didn't scare me rewatching it for this, right?
Right.
I definitely, and we'll get to it, had different emotions sometimes. But man, this movie, I just think it held up.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's
I'm sorry.
scary. It is scary. Yeah.
And for me to...
I've talked about it for like 2 days now, like straight. It's such a good movie.
Yeah, there's parts in that movie that still, I'm just like, here it comes. Man, I don't want to watch this part.
Yeah.
I just don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
Yeah.
And it happens every time.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
There it is.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Don't eat don't eat that steak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that is probably the grossest part of this movie, is that scene, but we'll get to that, won't we?
This was actually my second time watching it. My first time watching it was last year when we were going through and picking movies. I was like, Logan, is he old enough to watch it? And it's like, oh, it's PG. And Chelsea's like, I watched it all the time when I was a kid, is what she was saying. I was like, okay, well, I've never seen it. So we sat down and we started watching it, and then the tree scene pops up, and Logan was out of there.
Gone.
Done.
Yeah.
Nope.
Dundee. Don't want no
I
part
mean,
of
that's
that.
probably one of the scariest scenes in the entire movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So definitely has that Spielberg
Oh,
feel
for
to
sure.
it,
I
Even though
love
he
that
wasn't the
feeling that he
director,
gives. I don't know
but-
what. It's like a controlled chaos,
Right.
And I love that.
And there's like a calming to it.
He
too,
still has
you
it
know?
like in his movies.
Yeah.
Where the background noise same as the foreground, like the main character's talking, and I love that. So like
Yeah.
there's just craziness going on in the background
all the time. Yeah.
And
the scene with the football game. Just,
yeah, it's very real. I mean, it has a real feeling to it.
But it doesn't like meander either too long,
Doesn't
no,
doesn't
yeah.
dawdle.
No,
Yeah.
no.
But
That's one thing Spielberg was, especially early Spielberg. He
Yeah,
didn't dawdle.
He gets right to the point.
Right.
sure.
He
Yeah.
ain't got time to mess around.
No.
so our icebreaker today is: do you believe in ghosts, or do you have a ghost story you'd like to share with us?
Oh, I got so many.
I'm going to say I somewhat believe in ghosts.
Okay.
And my significant other, Annie, would 100% believe in ghosts. And she does believe our house is haunted by my mother. So there's that.
Okay.
And I'm not far behind her.
It really.
Because I have heard things in that house since she's passed that I cannot explain.
Yeah. Here's the deal. I want to believe in ghosts.
Yeah.
But I have never seen anything like myself. So I've heard some things, but I've never seen anything.
Yeah, I've never seen
So I'm going to
anything.
give you just one story. I don't know if, have we talked about this before? How the North movie theater is built on,
Nope.
the North movie theater is built on a cemetery.
Which North movie theater?
The Hollywood.
You're kidding.
And it was on the front page of the newspaper because they laid the concrete for the movie theater. And then it came out that it was a Civil War burial ground.
Holy
And
crap.
it had unmarked graves.
Really?
But they had laid the foundation. So they were like, sorry.
What do you want me to do now?
We're not going to tear the foundation up of this giant movie theater, So that being said, there's a Sunday I'm working and it's really slow. And there was a movie. It always happened in Theater 9. I don't know what is the deal with Theater 9 at the movie theater. But so I'm working up front, and a guy that I know that was a bartender at Legends, which was a bar back in the day here in town, him and his girlfriend came in. They bought tickets to a movie. About 45 minutes into the movie, they come out, and he said, "Can we get our money back?" And I was like, did you not lie? Like, what's the deal? And he was like, no. He's like, we just got to go. And the girlfriend's like hitting him. And she's like, tell him. And he was like, oh my God. He was like, I feel so silly about this. He goes, we were in the movie. They were the only ones in the movie theater, right? No one else. He said a guy with, it looked like khaki pants and like a white shirt untucked and a big beard and messy hair came in like a skinny guy. He turned his entire body and faced him and kind of looked at him, and they could see him looking. So he was like, I glanced over and he was staring at us, and then he turned and walked away, and he looked at her and he was like, that was freaking weird. Like, what is the deal with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
About 10, 15 minutes later, same thing, walks in, turns his whole body towards him. But this time he starts walking up the stairs, and they're on like the 4th or 5th row, he said. But his body was facing forward, but his head was facing sideways, and he was staring at him the entire time that he was walking up the stairs. And he got in the row behind him, and he was like, I could see him walk behind me. And he's like, it made me mad. So I turned around to say something, and there was no one there. And he goes, then I immediately thought he's hiding. So he was like, I hopped and ran up and down the stairs, and he was like, there was no one there, man. He goes, I have no idea where he could have gone. I don't even know. He's like, so I think it's just best that we leave. And I was like, holy crap.
Wow.
So that's like probably the best ghost story I have.
Yeah.
Another one was at the movie theater. I'm closing at night, and the office is on the 3rd floor, and the projection booth, I don't know if you know this in movie theaters, they're soundproof.
Okay.
Because the projectors are so loud
Yeah.
that they have to have them soundproof because it is loud up there. So I'm sitting in the office, the door's open, the assistant manager's there, and we hear a blood-curdling scream. And I look up at the panel, and all the motion detectors are green, meaning no one is in the movie theater because there's motion detectors everywhere in the movie theater.
Right.
Blood-curdling scream. I just look at him and I say, why don't you shut that door? So he shuts the door and he was like, what could that have even been? He was like, what could that have been? He goes, I mean, it sounded like a woman screaming. I was like, maybe it was a projector. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Could have been a couple things. Yeah.
It could have been anything, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, well, we have to shut the projectors down and the office is at the front and you have to walk all the way to the back and turn all the breakers off. I was like, let's go shut the projectors down together and we'll get the heck out of here. So he goes to open the door and I can see his fingers pull away and the door slams shut.
No
And
way.
he looked at me and he was pale and I said, oh, hell no. So I called Mike, who was the general manager at the time, and I told him what happened. He was like, oh, come on. I was like, Mike, I said, so if you want these projectors shut off, I suggest you come up here and shut them off.
Wow.
We opened that door and we just booked it. I was like, I've seen this movie before and
Getting out
I
of
am
here.
not investigating.
Yeah, I was say one phrase that's not going to come out of Dave's mouth. Let's investigate.
No.
We gotta see it. We gotta see it.
So, I mean, that's really like the extent of movie. I got one more and I'll tell you, it's worth it.
Okay.
It's quick. So I worked at the hospital like a few years ago before the pandemic, and I worked in the food department. I ran all the food for the entire hospital.
Wow.
And I had to work a night shift. Every once in a while, you just had to work it so you know what your staff's doing. And there was a little 95-year-old lady that worked there saying she's worked there for like, I think 65 years is what she had worked there. And all she did was cut the pie.
Wow.
That's all she did.
Cut
all
pie.
day long. You'd be surprised how many pies and cakes they go through in a day. Like,
bet.
it's
Yeah.
crazy amount. So she's in the back. One of my girls who's new and like from a temp agency is doing dishes in the giant 3-base sink, right? That's in there. And the little old lady walks through and she said, hey, and the girl turned around. She goes, you should get out of here. And she's like, what do you mean? She goes, you need to go out front right now. And she's like, what do you mean? She goes, there's someone under the sink watching you and she's not nice. You need to go.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm out front. She comes out and she was like, and she told me what happened. I was like, what do you mean? I walk around the other side and I go to the lady, and apparently she can see things,
Yeah.
dead people.
She's a medium.
And she said that she
see
can
the shine.
She said she can see patients walking up and down the hallways.
That's crazy.
And she's been there forever, and no one's. And she goes, but every once in a while you get a bad one. And she goes, and she was a bad one. And so I told her to go out front. And I was like, well, I mean, she has to do the dishes. And she goes, she'll go away. So I walk past the sink, and I have my phone out, and I'm like, click, 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 as I walk by,
Right?
and nothing. So what do? I called Jalissa and tell her I'm there overnight. She was like, why would you call to tell me the story? I'm home alone. Well,
Craziness.
yee.
Yee
So
is
there's my
right.
ghost stories.
Next time, get a pie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a bad one.
I mean, I have a couple of them, but I'm only going to say one. It was my mom and dad's very first home that they ever had. Just like any kid, I never wanted to go down in the basement because it was dark and, you know, it was damp and all that other stuff. As I'm kind of growing up, there was a HBO free weekend. I'm just going to leave it at that. We knew what I was going downstairs for. There was only one TV in the whole house.
Yeah, baby.
I'm going downstairs. So you go down, you turn, and then there's a straightaway.
Okay.
And then you turn once more. Well, as you're going down, there's a space above that walkway, like right on that corner. There was a lady. She was eye level with me. She didn't have any eyes, and she was dressed in like an old school nurse gown. She opened her mouth, and it was just pitch black. Scared the absolute crap out of me.
Well, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
I turn back around. I go run over. I'm banging on my mom and dad's door. And I'm like, listen, I just saw something. They were more concerned about why I was going downstairs. But I'm like, that is beside the point. I saw this. They didn't believe me at all. We learned later on that 4 houses down was like one of the oldest houses in the whole town. And it used to be the hospital for that town, was this big mansion house.
Right.
Where we were staying was the nurse's house, and it was also the impromptu morgue, to where when it got full, then they would take the extra bodies and they'd put them in the basement of the house. That
How are you a normal person?
Right?
I think that would have probably traumatized
Scarred me for life.
Forever.
Forever.
I don't think I would have been able to watch another scary movie.
Well,
How did
this
you
is
get
why
through The Nun?
I swore off demonic movies until I met you jokers and my wife. So,
Jokers.
yeah.
Why?
Podcast is bullshit.
This podcast is
It
bullshit.
bullshit. Possession
Yeah,
movies
well,
for the
that's-
longest time. So,
That's crazy,
yeah.
Calvin.
Yeah.
I sympathize.
Man.
What movie we review? Poltergeist.
Poltergeist.
I mean, it makes sense. That's
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
Yeah. Poltergeist has a runtime of 114 minutes.
A very fast 114
Oh,
minutes,
yeah.
I might add.
I think it
Somebody
takes.
thought it dragged
I thought it dragged.
What?
because it was torture.
Oh.
Yeah.
'Cause he
But
was
also just
scared.
because you're on the edge of your seat the whole time. You know what I'm saying? So,
1 minute.
Maybe it's
seems
because
like
I've
two.
seen it so many times I was
Yeah.
not on the edge of my seat.
For sure.
I
Right.
did have it. I hadn't seen this in a while, so I had scenes mixed up in my head.
Yeah.
Like I was
I
like,
always
oh,
forget that the clown
is at the end of the movie.
movie.
Yeah.
I always forget that. I always expect him at the tree part.
Yeah.
And we don't get it.
Right.
And then it happens at the end of the movie, and I'm like, man, that is just
house
Terrible.
is clean.
No, it ain't.
Wrong, Zelda.
It had a budget of $10.7 million and it grossed $121.7 million.
Wow.
Top box office for June of 1982.
This will be fun.
E.T.
Yeah. Jeez. That's why he couldn't direct this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Star Trek II Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, good one.
Number 3, Poltergeist.
Yeah.
4, Annie. 5,
I like Annie.
Firefox.
Clint
6,
Eastwood.
Blade Runner. 7, The Thing.
Jeez.
8, Grease 2.
Ugh.
9, Hanky Panky.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And 10 is Mega Force.
I mean, God, we are blowing it. The 80s were awesome.
The 80s were awesome.
Crazy.
80s
I will
and
put
90s.
the 80s up against any era when it comes to movies. Like, you want to put out
Seriously.
movies? Come at me.
How can you
I'll take
name
the 80s.
like
Come at
how
me.
many classics in one
One go around. Yeah.
That was box office for 1 month or all of 1980?
No, just for June.
Yeah, that's just June
That's what I'm saying.
of 82.
Yeah.
Come at me, bro.
Here's the thing: is I try to get my kids to watch some of these movies, like E.T., and they're like, and I'm like, what do you mean? These are the things I was watching when I was your age.
You're lame, Dad.
They're lame.
They are lame.
All they do is watch people scream on YouTube, and it
Yeah.
drives me crazy.
Right?
Watching them play video games, I'm like, ugh,
Skibbity Toilet and all that.
whatever.
Brain rot. You're
Yeah.
part of that.
Gen Alpha. Mm-hmm. You guys want to discuss acting, directing, anything like that before we get into it?
I have no problems.
No.
I really don't.
I can't fault anything when it comes to acting
No.
or directing.
No, I really think that they all did a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And directing, he did it. So there's a theory that this was co-directed because Spielberg was on set all the time.
Yeah.
But he was contractually obligated to not direct a movie while he was directing E.T. But he was on set all the time.
You know he was over his shoulder.
No,
all
but
the
I
time.
think that they had that agreement because this movie feels like a Spielberg
Yes.
movie.
Yeah.
It feels like it was directed by Steven
Yeah.
Spielberg. The directing's great in it.
Even when I talk to like my wife or my wife's family about it, they're under the assumption that this is Spielberg.
Yeah, because his name is plastered all over it. Yeah,
yeah.
no one else's name is plastered on it.
Right.
But I mean, even the way it's filmed, it's done very well.
obviously you guys would recommend people watch this.
I feel like it's a must. I feel like of all horror movies, this is something that you should see.
Right.
Just because it's so good. I think it's terrifying, but I think it's terrifying for different reasons.
Yeah.
Because it makes it feel real. You know what I mean? It's not like jump scare. There's I think one big jump scare too in it, and they're like mild.
Yeah, I mean
The
clown.
door scene, that one jump
Yeah.
scare.
I think the clown gets me.
Yeah,
Yeah. The tree too. Yeah.
To me, the tree is the scariest scene in the entire movie.
Yeah.
It's still, I was like, ugh, when it happened.
So
Imagine
who was,
laying in your bed and
And he knew it too, that poor kid.
tree just grabs him out of his bed and swallows him.
yeah.
God.
Yeah, I'm not going to school. I'm taking a day off.
Yeah.
So what age group would you recommend for this?
I don't know, 10 or 11 up.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10 and up, unless you got a really hard case.
Yeah.
8-year-old.
So my oldest could have watched this at 8. He's like me. He likes horror movies and stuff like that. My youngest, he was in the room when I was watching it, and it was a scene where she's getting sucked.
Oh, yeah,
right
into the door.
And he goes, "What's going on?" And I paused it and I said, "You can't watch this movie," because I knew it would scar him for life. He would
Right,
never go to
right.
bed.
No,
He would never
be sleeping with you.
He
for-
wouldn't be able to
rest of the time.
function at all.
Right.
Yeah.
He'd be sleeping with his parents till they're
We don't need
15,
any more of those 12, 13 she did.
something like
Oh
that.
my
Yeah,
goodness.
my poor parents.
Well, let's get into spoilers on your count, Lee.
It's time.
But first, trivia.
Trivia.
Number 1. What is the opening song of the movie?
It's the anthem, national anthem.
Star Spangled
Oh,
Banner.
yeah.
Yep. Which is the national anthem.
Depends on what nationality you are.
American,
Bullshit.
Okay.
which is where this podcast is based.
What helmet is Carol Ann wearing during the
Rams.
Rams.
That's correct. Who is
Which
the
are in California, which is right. Weren't they St. Louis at the time?
LA Rams.
They were LA Rams
Yeah.
and then moved to St. Louis and then moved back.
They moved from St. Louis to the Rams moved to St. Louis.
Right, and then back.
moved back.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
That
had the
makes sense.
Cardinals. when
Right,
they
but
moved to
we had the
Arizona.
Rams in Missouri at one point.
We
in
had
time.
they had the Texans moved up here and
And renamed them the
named
Chiefs.
Yeah.
Number 3. Who is the first person to say poltergeist in the movie?
It's the lady,
The lady with the glasses.
the doctor.
Doctor.
The paranormal researchist person.
Yeah, I can't remember her name, but it's the doctor.
Dr. Lesh.
Yeah. She's a psychiatrist, psychologist.
Yes.
What's the final shot of the movie?
The
Pushing
motel.
Pushing
Leaving
the
motel.
TV out the door.
Yeah.
That's correct. Number 5. How many people swim in the pool throughout the movie?
2. The wife and husband.
So JoBeth Williams was hesitant about shooting this in the swimming pool scene because of the large amount of electrical equipment positioned over and around the pool. Steven Spielberg crawled into the pool with her to shoot the scene. And Spielberg told her, now if a light falls, we'll both fry. And the strategy worked, and Williams got in the pool.
Nice.
So,
Can
I
you
want to get in that
imagine?
pool anyway.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if that would have happened?
Oh, no
that'd be
kidding.
terrible. 82. We've missed out on
Steven
so
Spielberg
many.
dies in 1982.
No, how many
Indiana
movies?
Jones.
No Indiana Jones. No Schindler's List.
The list goes on and on.
Yeah, it goes on and on.
Forever. How many sequels and remakes does this movie have?
Two sequels,
sequels and a
one
remake.
one remake, and a possible another remake. The Russo brothers are talking about remaking.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Wow.
At the time of this
That was
recording.
2023. So we'll see where that's going.
All right, well, let's get into our long form discussion.
Woo,
Okay.
woo.
Camera zooming out and everybody's asleep, and then Carol Ann wakes up.
Yeah,
and
the
then
dad
she
is in the
starts-
chair with his arm dangling. I always remember
Yeah.
that.
Yep. She gets up, goes downstairs.
It starts off with a very close up of the TV to where you could see the pixels of the TV, and it zooms out and you see that it's national anthem. So back in the 80s,
yeah, TV would just end.
it would end, and it always ended with a national anthem or like a broadcast. We now end our broadcast,
Really?
and it would just go to.
Snow.
I remember that.
Yeah.
You know,
TV would just
there
end.
was no infomercials
crazy.
after 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. It
No
was
late night TV.
It was just it
Done.
ended. Yep, done.
Yeah, crazy.
So when it does, Carol Ann wakes up. She walks down the stairs, and it's her little voice. She's answering questions to the TV. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, get away from there.
And then she's like really talking to it to where Craig T. Nelson, the dad,
Wakes up.
Steven, his name's Steven, wakes up, and so does Diane and Robbie. And then what's the big older sister's name?
could
I
not
can't remember.
tell you.
I know. I can't remember.
Could not tell
She's not
you
in
her
a
name.
ton of scenes.
No, she's not.
But they're all walking down the stairs looking at her, and then she kind of turns around and looks at him. This is not when the famous line
it's not.
happens. I always thought it was, but it isn't. So it's the next morning, and it's the classic breakfast
Breakfast.
scene, Spielberg feel.
Chaos.
It's chaos. All
Mass
all the
frickin'
kids
chaos.
are arguing with each other. Was it
Dad's
Ro-
reading the paper.
Dad's reading the paper. Well, he's trying to get ready for work, but it's
Yeah.
he's on the phone.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he ties his tie around the phone cord, and so when he goes to put the phone up, it's
Yeah.
in his tie.
It's great.
They're starting a pool in the backyard,
Mm-hmm.
so the construction crew is there digging the pool out, and it's just kind of chaos. Robbie, something happens. They start arguing. The bottom of his glass falls out.
Just
This is really
shatters.
like the very first thing that's weird that happens.
Yeah.
It just falls out, and his milk goes everywhere, and it goes all over the older sister's homework. And she's like, I got to be in class in 15 minutes, you
Yeah.
know, and Carol Ann's laughing. And so everyone kind of gets shuffled and gone. The mom's yelling, and she was like, when you leave, push your chairs in. Like, we're
Right.
not animals,
Right.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So she pushes everyone's chairs in, and Carol Ann pops up, and she changes the channel to the fuzzy channel.
Yeah.
And then her face is like up against the TV, the
yeah.
little kitchen TV.
Yeah.
It's what, like
That's
9
one
inch,
thing. It's
9-inch
1982.
TV. Yeah.
And they have a TV in every room of their friggin' house.
Yeah, that house, when it sold in 83, because this was a new edition, like they really shot it there, was a $180,000 house in 1983.
Dang.
So it sold for $1.7 million.
Dang.
crazy.
Yeah, they do have money.
Yeah.
And they're young. They're 31 and 32.
Dang.
Which is crazy.
I mean, he's a salesman.
And he's like the top salesman.
Right.
So can you imagine what his commissions are?
Oh,
I mean,
insane.
Right.
And also told later on, but he's working
all
with
the subdivisions.
Yeah, all of
phase
these-
1 through...
Yeah, and they're on phase
Whatever.
4.
Right.
That's what he's selling.
So I
and
could
he's
imagine-
in phase 1, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I could imagine that they're like, hey, yeah, you guys want a house?
Well, I mean, they offer him another house later on in
Yeah.
the movie.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I think that probably he got a hell of a deal
For sure.
on this house. And this house is nice. Even
It's
in
very
in
nice.
82, it's a very nice house.
Yeah.
So the mom is like, she didn't tell her to get away. She just changes the channels to like
Right.
Cowboys and Indians, on the screen.
Right.
She watches her older daughter. And I love this scene. And that guy that says something to her, he's in movies. Predator. Thank
Yeah.
you. Good job.
Billy.
Yes, I knew he was in something. But they're whistling at this poor teenage girl.
Right.
And she ends up like flipping him off. And the mom laughs. And she's like,
This
at a girl.
14-year-old girl gets around.
She does.
Not
Terrible.
to fast forward too far, but at the end of the movie, Craig T.
she
Nelson,
knows the hotel,
yeah, Craig
or
T.
motel.
Nelson says, "I want to get out of here so we can stay at that
Holiday
Holiday Inn on I-74." She goes, "Oh yeah, the Holiday Inn.
I know that
97. I
hotel.
know that one." I was like, "You You little dirty dog.
Goodness.
Anyway,
gracious.
moving on.
This point in time, I think that it fast forwards to the football scene.
She pushes all the chairs up,
Yeah.
all right? And then
It
when
pans
it pans
to
out,
that
all the
side.
chairs are pushed out again.
And then she gets
And
upset.
she asks
She's
Carol Ann, did you do this?
Oh, and she says no.
No.
Yeah.
It was cleaned. She says, why don't you guys push your chairs under? But all the chairs were pushed out at equidistance.
Right. So, no, that's not what I promise. That's not what happened. Remember, so Bluto, the guy, the construction guy,
Oh, right.
she goes and does something,
Right.
comes back to the kitchen, and the construction guy is eating
the sauce.
The sauce.
Yeah.
And that's
And-
when the chairs are like pushed back out. And she says, Carol Ann, did you do this?
Right.
And she says, no.
Okay.
And then it's the football scene. The scenes get mixed up in my head because I've seen it so many times.
Right.
Right.
Same.
Do you want to do the football
The
scene?
football scene is great. It's
I
more
love it.
Steven Spielberg mass chaos, and we got Craig T. Nelson hosting the guys over, and it shows this dude riding on a bike through the neighborhood, trying to carry at least 2 6-packs of beer with him,
Yeah.
and ride a bike. And there's 3 kids sitting on the sidewalk watching him go by, and they rev up their little RC cars and chase out. And these are impressive RC cars for 1982,
Yeah, they're
by
quick.
the way.
Yeah.
They're faster than a grown man riding a bike.
Dang.
So I wanted one
Yeah.
Yeah.
really bad.
Yeah.
Chase him with the cars and cross in front of him and cause the dude to wreck, and he drops half his beer and they bust open and he gets back into the football game, and it's just
It's spewing
mass-
everywhere.
Oh,
mass chaos. They're all yelling at the TV, and then all of a sudden it changes to
Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. You kind of think for a split second, is it the Poltergeist that's doing
Right,
this?
right.
And then it's something that happens every day. His neighbor has the same kind of TV, and their remotes are interfering with each other. Every time he uses his remote, it changes the neighbor's TV.
Yeah.
It's like,
So-
my kids want to watch
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
So they're arguing back and forth, changing each other's freaking TVs from the yard. It's classic
Yeah.
suburban bullshit.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love it. Like I said, it's more Spielberg's controlled chaos that's
Yeah.
just real life that you find in
I still
all
say
the
this
stuff.
next scene is when the chair thing happens.
Could be.
Because when it pans away and goes back there, that's when they're all stacked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's when they're
and
stacked up.
And I think that because the table is clean
Yes.
when it
Yeah.
happens.
Yes.
So breakfast scene, I think that was just foreshadowing, like push your
Right.
chairs in, right? So then the next scene happens in the kitchen, and yes, it is because she's at home all day with Carol Ann by
Right.
herself.
Yeah.
So she's like, Carol Ann, did you do that? She says no. The camera pans away, and when it comes back, the chairs are stacked in a pyramid, and it's perfect.
Yeah.
Like if you look, I was looking at it, it's like perfectly balanced on
Right.
some are upside down, some are whatever, but it's a pyramid shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then mom turns to Carol Ann and says, TV people?
And she says,
This is what got me is mom is as cool as a cucumber
Yeah.
when this happens.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but if I turned around and 6 chairs were stacked on top of my table,
I'm gone.
I'm leaving.
I'm gone.
I'm lighting a match.
This is
and
like
I'm leaving.
this is like paranormal activity stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The first
No.
time something like that happened
Nope.
in that movie, I would have been gone.
Gone.
Now I realize the story says that she couldn't escape it anyways. I still would have been gone or divorced, one of the two.
Well, if they would have left before she got taken,
Yeah.
she probably could have, because her being taken is what latched them on to her.
Right.
And opened her up.
Right.
To be susceptible to all this stuff
Right.
to begin with. As soon as that stuff got stacked up, we're packing our bags and we're getting the hell out.
I'm out of here. Yeah.
Deuces. I'm out.
We were living at my in-laws' old house. I fell asleep, woke up, all of the cabinets were completely wide open. And I was somebody was just messing with it. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody came in and they just were looking for whatever. Not that people were coming into the house, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But just like somebody got up in the middle of the night, they were trying to get something to drink or, something. Nobody was home. It was just me and Charles. That was it. But
Nope.
don't mess with it. Yep. I went out and got holy water and then I sprinkled it everywhere. And
So
You should get you some sage.
we messed this up a little bit.
Did we?
After the football scene is the night when they're all in bed together.
Right.
And that's when we get the famous line.
That was the
And-
storm.
And then the next day
They
is
had the
when this
storm
happens.
and
Yeah.
Robbie was wigging out.
Right.
And Craig T. Nelson goes
I
in.
do-
and-
I did laugh
and
out loud
tells
at this
him,
scene.
Hey, if you can count after the lightning strike,
And you hear the
the more
thunder.
you count, the further away it's getting.
Right.
And it calmed him down for a little bit, and then the next scene, they're all in bed
They're
together.
all in bed together. It's like, because like some big crash happens, and
Yeah.
the next scene is they're all sleeping in the bed. Carol
Yeah.
Ann, Robbie, and the mom and dad.
Yeah.
and the mom and dad were having fun beforehand. I
Oh,
think
they
she
were-
was,
they were smoking weed and having a good time.
having a blast. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
ridiculous. Yeah. Again, national anthem. TV goes to static. Carol Ann wakes up. She's talking to him, but this time we see ghost hands coming out of the TV.
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
mist.
Right. It shoots into the wall, creates like a hole in the wall,
And
and
leaves ectoplasm.
Right, and then a violent earthquake happens.
Yeah.
And it's only to the house we find out later that this happens.
Yeah.
And they all wake up and they look at her, and she looks at them, and she says, "They're here,"
Yeah.
which is one of the creepiest lines ever.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yikes. So then we get the table scene and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And after the chair stacking, Craig T. Nelson, we see his job. He's selling houses. And when he comes home later at night, Diane runs out of the house. She's like, you got to see this. You got to see this. And she's marked on the kitchen floor a circle and some arrows. And she puts a chair in there, and it kind of wiggles, and it shoots across the kitchen floor. And he doesn't say anything. He walks over, he picks the chair up. He's looking at the bottom of it. You can hear Carol Ann saying, I'm hungry.
Right.
I want pepperoni pizza.
This is boring to her.
I'm done. I'm over this. So she puts her Rams helmet on. She sets down and she slides, and he kind of catches her. And
She went with force.
Right.
Like, he caught her, and she was just like, whoa.
and Diane's like, come try it. Come try it. It feels like all these tiny little fingers are inside
Like,
of you.
it's like it pulls you.
Yeah.
And
he's like, no. I'm not interested.
doing that.
I'm not interested in doing this.
Right.
Again, they're both cool as a cucumber, and you can't explain how your child slid across the floor.
I'm telling you, that might have been neat to see, but I would have been out.
Yeah.
Everything that happened, I'm a wuss, man.
no.
I'm out.
I'm
either
not a wuss. I'm just
This
not
is why
that
I feel like I would
dumb.
survive like the end of the world,
Right?
Because I'd be like, no, I'm out.
I've seen way too many movies.
Oh yeah, for sure,
No, thank
for
you.
sure, yeah.
It's not going to happen.
So this night is the night. It's storming again.
Storming again.
Robbie's in bed. He keeps looking at that dang tree. He throws
creepy ass tree, dude.
He throws a coat over the clown, and Carol Ann has this clown.
The clown, that was at the end of the movie.
No, but he throws a coat over the clown.
Yeah,
And that was at the end of the movie. That was towards the end.
No, he covers it
'Cause
up with a blanket.
Yeah, because when he throws the jacket on it, he misses.
Yeah. He throws up like a pink blanket because it goes into the closet, but he throws a blanket over it.
Right.
And Carol Ann's sleeping.
They share a bedroom, too.
Yeah, they share a bedroom, so she's kind of catty-corny to him, and
The mom sets up that clown on the chair that's looking at him.
sometimes it's in bed with Carol Ann, but and this is like a child-sized clown.
I'm
This
sorry,
is not a
but-
little clown.
No.
Parenting 101 says to put that thing in the closet.
Definitely.
And shut the well, Carol Ann likes the closet light on with the door open.
Yeah.
But still, that clown would have been in the closet.
I would totally own that clown now, though.
You can buy it. You can get it.
Oh, I'm sure you can. Like,
I've
that
seen
thing
it.
is amazing.
I've almost bought one and
Yeah.
put it in my kid's car.
Yeah.
Because they're terrified.
We
of
should get
clowns.
it and put it to set on this toilet in your
the
rec room
bathroom?
here. So
Yeah.
when people open the door, the toilet, the
Sit on the
clown's
back of the
sitting there.
toilet, like
They'll
on the
see
tank.
Pazuzu.
Yeah,
It's just like,
Pazuzu's in there.
So get the clown and...
we're just going to make that a horror bathroom.
You know, I was thinking about getting an alien disc plate and just sticking it right to wherever, when you sit down and there's just like an alien looking at you.
Heck yeah.
Say we take an axe to the door.
Ooh, there you
Ooh,
go.
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Here's Johnny.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Storm happens,
Yeah.
and Robbie's freaking out, and all of a sudden, the tree
Reaches.
crashes into the window,
Yes.
grabs him,
Yep.
pulls him out. Craig T. Nelson and Diane and Steven run into the room. Carol Ann's screaming, right? And they see him pull it out. Now, outside, there is a tornado going on.
Right.
So they're in their head, this tree, like he's just getting sucked out. I don't think they thought the tree grabbed him. If they did, I definitely would have been out of there. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I mean, you had to see him going into the tree.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So they get outside to go help him. He's in the tree.
Yeah.
And he's getting sucked inside the tree like it has a mouth.
Right.
And Craig T. Nelson is trying to get up the tree and he's struggling with it. And they finally pull him down. The older daughter's outside and she's like, look, it's a tornado. And you can kind of see the 80s animation of a
Right.
tornado, right?
Yeah.
And when they finally get him out, they look up and the tornado's dissipating, but they're covered in that like goop.
Yeah.
It's like this dirt, brown goop. And Diane says,
Does he
Carol
fall
Ann-
in the pool too at this point in time?
No. Yeah, because they were like, oh, Carol Ann's upstairs. So they run up. And as the tree is happening, the closet door opens.
Yes.
And Carol Ann's in the room by herself. And a light comes out of the closet. And slowly everything starts getting sucked into this closet.
Yes.
All the toys, all the
Everything.
furniture, everything is getting sucked in. And she is holding on to her bed for dear life. And she is in the air.
Why
Yeah.
was there so much glitter under her bed?
I agree with this. I always think that when I watch this movie. I always am like, what the hell is going on? I mean, it
Who's
definitely
cleaning this room?
It definitely looks better.
Right.
You know, makes it look crazy. But I've always thought this is so scary. So when her bed frame breaks and she flies into the closet, it's obviously like a doll, right? But I always thought it's so scary looking.
Yeah.
Because it moves so inhuman, you know what I mean? And it's just terrifying.
Yeah.
I'm like, ugh. So they run upstairs, right? And the beds are sucked up against the closet. And he is throwing these beds around like they're nothing. Like, I thought that. I mean, he's still like throwing the beds behind him.
Adrenaline man.
Yeah. And they're pulling everything out of the closet. And she's crying because at the end of it, in the closet, there is a person there with a blanket over him and it's not moving. And she's crying like she's dead.
Right.
Yeah.
And they pull it off and it's the clown and she immediately starts laughing.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. And so they start searching the house. They're looking everywhere and finally she's like, oh my God, the pool. And she screams the pool and he runs to the pool and he dives in and he's looking around and there's like what?
4 feet?
4 feet of freaking water in this pool.
Yeah.
And he comes up and you can hear him say, thank God. Like, thank God she's not in there,
Yeah.
you know? And they're like, where the heck is she? And finally Robbie's in their room. And he hears Carol Ann from the TV. And so he screams for his mom. How he screams for his mom in this scene, right? It's like that.
It was real.
It's real.
Yeah.
But it's also like he can't get his words out. Like he's like, Mom,
It's
Mom.
real.
I know. And
Like,
so
that kid was in shock. I just got swallowed by a goddamn tree.
That
Now
thing-
my sister's talking to me through the TV.
that they never talk about again.
Right?
They never talk about it again.
Robbie
I'm
is
like,
going to need a
it is
team
more in-
of psychologists working around the clock
It is more
to let him sleep in that bed
more
again. I'm
impressive
sorry.
that they're not like a tree tried to eat him. You know
Right?
what I mean?
Well, a tree tried to eat him. What do you mean a tree tried to eat him? You mean like metaphorically?
No.
It reached
It was
in his
trying to eat
window
him.
and it tried to swallow him.
So I love this scene because Diane comes in and she's kind of shaking him, right? And she's like, "What?" And he's screaming, and you can see like his buck teeth, and he's screaming, "Carol Ann, Carol Ann, Carol Ann," and then it's like their shadow up against the fuzzy screen,
Yeah.
And then you hear, "Mommy, where are you?" And she looks at the TV, and you're like, "Oh." And when she's like, "I can't see you," and she's like, "There's somebody here with me," I'm like, "Oh my God."
Oh, nope, we're done.
Yeah.
Time to go.
I think that this whole act is when Jalissa would have noped out.
Yeah.
She would have been like, I'm done. I'm not watching this movie. I'm done. I'm not watching this movie.
Side note, it'd be called the Spooky Dookie Room.
Nice.
Yeah, I like the spooky dookie room.
Yeah.
Heck yes.
Sorry.
We're doing it.
No, so this is kind of the scene where we realize that she is in the house.
And this is like
Somewhere.
This is semi early in the movie.
This is quick.
The first third.
Yeah.
It's in the first act.
Yeah.
Yeah,
of
it's
the
the
movie.
first act of the movie because it ends the first act of the movie, right?
Yeah.
And so the second act is they are immediately at a college and they're talking
Dad
to
is, yeah.
Dad
Dr. Lee.
is.
Yeah.
And
Talking
he
to the-
looks rough.
Yeah.
Like he hasn't slept.
And it's been
you know what?
weeks.
He keeps his cool as
He
well.
does.
Like he's the calmer. Like he's like for someone who obviously hasn't been sleeping.
Right.
He hasn't been to work. They talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, he is just trying to figure out what's going on. They go get this team of ghost hunters.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Parapsychologists or whatever they are.
Right.
And it'd been weeks at this time.
Yes. And they're like, we haven't called the cops. We haven't told the news. No one knows she's missing. We're trying to keep this like under wraps because we don't know what's going on.
Right.
And we don't want people coming at us. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she was like, well, don't say anything to anyone. Let us come and look. Right. And I love
I
when
loved that part.
Me-
I absolutely
me
love
too.
it. They're talking about all this stuff. The paranormal guys are talking about all the phenomenon that
I love
they
this,
have
yeah.
witnessed. And he goes, I watched
A car.
go 4 feet
a matchbox car.
over 12 hours.
Yes.
And I filmed the whole thing in time-lapse photography.
And yeah.
And Craig T. Nelson could not be less
His
impressed.
smirk.
Right.
He's
And
like,
they're outside
12 hours,
Carol Ann in Robbie's room at this time. The smirk on his face is great.
it is. And
So-
he opens up that door. And so much shit is just flying around in that room. Like you've got an
The clown
Incredible
is
Hulk
riding.
on a horse, and it stops midair and looks at them and laughs and gallops off.
And the clown is in the background riding a rocking horse.
Yes.
Yeah, and the beds are all twirling.
Yeah.
And the record player comes with the
A compass.
a compass
And plays itself.
It plays itself.
I'm like, yeah, what do
And-
you got?
And they're all looking at it. And the next scene is them drinking coffee. And the old lady is like,
Shaking. I'm like, yeah, you don't know what y'all got into, did you?
Nope.
You thought we were playing, didn't you?
and
Here's your head, and it's
at this point in time, they're hooked, right?
Yeah.
Like they are This is the craziest thing they've ever seen.
This is the find of the century.
And I do like this whole next scene because it's shot very well, and I think I like the whisper talk because some people are trying to sleep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Robbie's talking. I like that he's the perfect little kid that stops whispering and kind of talks and then goes back to the whisper, and they're like, you got to be quiet. And,
Right.
you know.
So for me, as soon as Carol Ann gets sucked in the closet, this is where the movie literally grabbed me. And then when we get these paranormal investigators coming in, I love the dynamic between the psychologist and the mom.
Yep.
And they're back and forth on reassuring each other
Right.
and whatnot throughout the movie is what makes this movie
And the doctor
so
lady
good for
tells her
movies.
straight up, look, I don't know any more than you do.
Yeah, and I love that scene where, you know,
just
they've
trying to
got the
figure it
light
out.
right on her and the composition of everything, and, you know, it's just them being open about
And
the
she's
entire
like, I'm not going to leave you. Like,
Right.
I'm going to help you.
We're not going to leave you.
We're not leaving you. We are going to figure this out.
We're going to get her back.
We're going to try, get her back. Because the mom knows. She has
knows she's there.
that feeling.
She knows she's
that
still
Carol
alive.
Ann is still, because they start talking to her.
Yeah.
And in this scene, this is where they turn the TV on and someone's here and they're like, tell her to get away from the light. Tell her to get away from the
Yeah.
light, you know? And she's, stay away from the light. Someone's here with me. And it's just like,
Yeah, scary.
Oh my God. Yeah. Things are quiet. And that's when they have all these conversations. And this is also one of the
Cameras
guys has
set
the
house.
camera set up, right?
Yeah.
And then we get the guy saying, hey, I'm going to go get something to eat.
We did have an awesome product placement shot as they're
For what?
setting up Cheetos.
Oh, yeah.
The Cheeto bag that was perfectly flattened out.
Which
so you
honestly,
could read it
that was,
as he was shaking
that didn't
it.
happen a ton in the 80s.
No, it didn't. But when it did,
Yeah.
you definitely
for
noticed
sure.
it.
Yeah.
Because,
well,
again,
I say that, but Star Wars was smacking you in the face the entire movie.
Yeah.
His sheets were Star Wars. His poster was Star Wars.
Right.
He had a Tauntaun.
Oh, he had all kinds of action figures.
He had the Darth Vader action figure case. And I'm like, I want all of that.
Baseball's
Rich
the
kids.
movie.
He had an Aliens
Spaceballs-
poster. Crazy.
rich kids.
Rich kid, little bastard.
Damn it.
Yeah.
The tree should have swallowed him.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
So, Lee, do you want to talk about the grossest scene in the entire movie?
Yeah. So everybody's kind of chilling out, and everybody is kind of sleeping. And the white dude with the glasses, the paranormal dude, says, all right, hey, man, I'm going to go get something to eat. So you got to take over my shift of watching all the monitors.
He does such a good job, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just starts drawing. So my man goes into the kitchen, starts poking around, looking for something to eat, opens up the refrigerator, grabs a steak out that was not wrapped in anything.
The 80s.
It's just
there
a
weren't
piece of
germs
meat.
in the 80s.
So he
you drank
throws
from
it-
the fire hose, didn't you? Or the outside hose?
Damn right.
Yeah.
So he throws it on the counter, and he starts looking for some other stuff. Then it just goes bad.
Yes.
And this is what the part that I really don't like watching ever, because it's so gross. The steak kind of opens up and all this just funk. That's the only way I can describe it.
It's like ectoplasm.
It's like maggots and
Yeah.
mealworms and chunks of just goo.
Yeah.
Ugh, it was really bad.
Yeah.
Really bad. And that causes a reaction with the guy. And he goes into the bathroom to kind of freshen himself up, and he starts peeling his face away.
Yeah.
Now, this does turn into 80s. I think this is the only thing that is unrealistic. Like,
Yeah, gore.
it does not look good.
It's the only gore
This
in the movie.
Pre-Raiders.
This was
face
on the
melting.
same page as The Thing.
Yeah. I agree.
And he literally tears his face apart down to the bone.
And all this stuff falling in the sink.
And it's just disgusting.
And he just keeps doing it like he's ripping his face off.
like he can't control himself. Like he has to do it. He's compelled to tear himself
It's
apart.
a hard scene to watch.
Very much so.
Even knowing what was happening, like I knew it was going to happen. I'm
Like,
like,
I knew it was fake. And then he just snaps out of it, and he's perfectly fine. So the
Yeah,
house
the
is
wa-
just
the wa-
messing with it.
Flash forward to the next day, and Dr.
for
Lesh
sure.
is like, so he's no longer be joining us.
Yeah, he's
It's
not
just
coming
been-
back.
He's never coming back.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
This scene also is where we see the stuff start, the room light up at the top of the stairs.
Right.
And all of a sudden, all these orbs are coming down. And the guy that's supposed to be watching the camera has his
Wasn't paying
headphones
attention.
on and he's drawing or doing something,
Yep.
right? And the guy comes back from the kitchen all sweaty.
Yeah. He's like, hey, man, look at this.
He taps him and they watch all these orbs come down. It was like a big, like glowing thing comes down,
Right.
right? And they all like get sucked into the ceiling, right? Back up into the ceiling, like this like portal opens. And then we get the giant roar.
Yeah.
And the guy runs up the stairs. He comes back down after the giant roar happens because he runs up the stairs. Giant roar happens. He comes flying down the stairs. He's like, something bit me. And Robbie's like, what do you mean something bit you? And he was like, something bit me big. And he pulls
And it
his
was
shirt up.
huge.
And it's like the size of a shark bite.
It was like an 18-inch diameter freaking bite wound on this guy's
Yeah.
side, and it didn't draw any blood.
But Robbie goes, oh,
Jeez.
I do like you. Oh. And so this next scene, I think something falls from the ceiling. That portal goes,
The jewelry
and
comes
all the
through.
jewelry comes through.
Right.
That might have happened earlier, but it does happen. And all this old jewelry, new jewelry, all this stuff comes through and lands. And they're all like, this isn't our stuff. I have no idea where this came from.
Right.
You know, Diane goes to the stairs and this gust of wind goes through her. This scene got me. Like, it choked me up because she's like, oh my God, it was Carol Ann. She was like, she went through my soul. I smell like her. And she's smelling herself, and Craig T. Nelson runs over and smells her. And he was like, yeah. And she makes the psychologist smell her. And I'm like, like, it killed me.
Right in
Yeah.
the gut.
Yeah, it is. Because every time I've seen this, I hadn't had kids.
Right.
You know what your kids smell like, good or bad.
Right.
You know what they smell like, you know? I always said Jack smelled like poop and cookies. His
Depends on the day.
His hands smell like poop and cookies because he's always eating Oreos and he doesn't know how to wipe his butt good enough. You know what I mean? And there he is just licking his fingers.
Gotta love kids, man.
It's
Yep.
so gross.
That's
So
disgusting.
they're watching they're like, rewind it, and they're watching that camera, and you can see soldiers and people coming down the stairs, and you're like, holy crap, there's a ton of
spiritual
spirits
energy
in this
right here.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it looks completely different on camera. And so I think it's the next day, and they're packing up, and she's like, I'm coming back for you. Like, I will be back for you, and I'm bringing help.
Right.
And she was like, I promise you. And this is when she turns the whiskey thing over, and
Yeah.
it's empty. It's empty. Yeah. She's like, sorry. I think after that we get Zelda, right?
That's right.
She comes back. What is her name in the movie? Zelda is the actress. If you've ever seen the movie Teen Witch, she plays the witch in that.
I can't think of her name.
You know her. It's like
Oh,
what
yeah.
she's
Oh yeah, I know who
known
she is.
from.
I just can't think of her name.
Both of the terrors that plague Robbie come from Steven Spielberg's own fears as a child, a fear of clowns and a tree outside of his window.
I knew that. Yeah. If I would have owned that home, I would totally rebuild that tree because it's a very stucco tree. Like, it's,
Yeah.
you can tell it's fake. It's not a real tree, but I would totally rebuild that tree.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be awesome.
It'd have to be outside the house.
Another inspiration from this movie, and this is spoilers for later on, an incident from the late 1800s. The city of Denver, Colorado wanted to develop a grand park in an area occupied by a cemetery. The city put out notices for bids to relocate the cemetery and gave the contract to the lowest bidder. About a third of the way into the project, the contractor started moving just the headstones. The city was close to finishing the project when one of the contractor's employees spilled the beans. The contractor was arrested, but the damage was already done, and the city couldn't afford to tear down the city and dig up the cemetery. So they finished the project, leaving the unmarked graves as they were. The park is Chessman Park, and the graves sit under the Greek Pavilion at the east, and you got Hollywood 10 and Denver, Colorado, Cheeseman Park.
Dope.
Cool. Anyway,
Tangina.
Yeah,
Tangina.
Dr. Lesh calls in Tangina Barron's a spiritual medium.
Yeah.
And she walks in and she says, you know, this house has lots of spirits in it.
A lot of it.
She said they're attracted to Carol Ann's life force. She said, but there's also the beast in the house. And the beast is manipulating all of them, who he appears or she appears as also a small child.
Wow.
So manipulating Carol Ann, and she was like, call out to her. And she doesn't answer. And she was like, who disciplines?
Right.
And
Makes
they're
dad
like,
do it.
really, no one but the father.
Yeah.
So he's like, Carol Ann. She was like, no, make her answer. And
her.
he's like,
Tell her
I
you're
will
gonna give her a
spank your
spank.
butt. And he was like, I don't spank my
Never
kid, you
spank
know?
my child.
And I will
Tell her
spank your
you're gonna
butt.
do it. Yeah.
And you hear her say, mommy, you know, and we get more of like the, you know,
Back and forth.
and
yeah.
she's like, tell her to go towards the light. And she's like, no, you told them not to go to the light, you know?
I'm telling you
I'm
now.
telling you now.
Yeah.
Tell her to go towards the light. Right. This is when she's going in, right?
Yeah.
They get
Throw two
rope
tennis balls in.
and rope.
And they've marked the tennis balls one
and
and two, and they throw them sequentially.
So
and
Zelda
they-
goes into the bedroom. The light is coming out of the closet, swirling everywhere.
Right.
She's going and standing in it, and she throws the tennis ball, and the guy catches it. And it's filled with, it's like covered with ectoplasma stuff.
Gross.
Yeah.
Throws the second one. It comes through.
And
so
this
she's
is-
like, get the
so
rope.
they're throwing it through the closet,
and it's
then
coming into the living
into
room.
the living room. Yeah.
Right, through the ceiling.
But it's downward. So throwing horizontal, coming down vertically.
so they throw the rope in.
Yeah.
And it goes through, and it's coming through the ceiling, and it's like floating in midair. And they
Yeah.
did a really good job at
Yeah,
that.
they
Like,
did.
it looks
Really cool.
cut off,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's like it's floating, and he's like pulling on it. And so they tie. She's like, I'm going in, and Carol Ann's not going to come to you. she doesn't know you. She was like, I'm going in. The mom does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was, fair enough. She's like, tie her up. And so she does not put up a fight
No.
at all. She was like, fair enough.
Cool.
I'm doing it.
So they wrap the rope around her and she goes in and she kisses her husband goodbye and that light is behind him. All of the filming of this and like, they did such
great.
a good job.
Yeah.
She goes in and it's kind of chaos for a while.
Yeah.
And then he pulls on the rope and it looks up and you see her holding Carol Ann falling through the ceiling, like this opening.
Right.
Right. And she comes down and
They got to get him in the tub.
they get him in the tub and no one's breathing. The mom takes a breath and poor little Carol Ann, you can tell she's trying her hardest to sit
Not
still,
move, yeah.
not move, but you can see she's moving.
Yeah.
But she opens her eyes and she says, "Mommy,
No.
Dad,
Hi, Daddy.
Hi, Daddy."
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the noise of them wiping the stuff off too. I don't know
Oh,
why.
it's so gross.
It's so gross, but it reminds me of my childhood.
Yeah.
Like watching this movie so many times. So Zelda, the doctor, shuts the door and lets the family be together. And she fixes her hair and she says, "This house is clean."
Lion.
She's lying. So we go back. Next scene.
This is when the movie ends the third act and we get our rare Spielberg fourth act.
Right.
You know what I'm
You
saying?
think the movie's over.
Yes.
Right.
And they are packing up.
Yep. Getting out of Dodge.
They are done. We also forgot the scene.
He goes up with the boss.
The
Yeah,
boss.
just before we get Carol Ann back,
Forget this scene. Sorry.
Craig T. Nelson's character has a meeting with his boss, and his boss is concerned that he hasn't been coming to work, and he thinks he's going to lose him to a competitor somewhere. So he's going to try to sweeten the pot. So he takes him up on this hill. He goes, "What do you think of this view?" And at the time, Craig T. Nelson's just not thinking about work at all.
Right.
He is a family man and is dedicated, and he just doesn't care.
Yeah.
The guy starts talking and is in his ear about, hey, we could build you a house up here, just to keep you on. You've sold
More than your
than
fair share.
half of the homes in this subdivision.
Yeah.
We can't afford to lose you, and we want to keep. And he goes, "All we got to do is we're going to move these headstones." And he goes, "What do you mean move the headstones?"
No, he doesn't say that yet.
Well,
he says
we have to move the whole cemetery.
Bodies and all.
He goes, "And we did it before,
We've done it before. Yeah.
right where you live."
Well, he doesn't say that, but he was like, "We did it before."
Right.
And they're like, "Oh," he's like, "All right." But he's like, "This is crap."
Right. He's not wanting to hear it.
Now, I think at that point in time, he's done.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, "I'm done with this company," you know? So we get now to the fourth act.
Right.
They are packing up.
Getting
Everyone's
outta
kind of acting normal. The daughter's like, "Hey, I'm going to go and see my friends for the last time."
Right.
I'm all packed up.
Well, make sure you get back here because I want to get out of here today. I want to stay at the
new
Holiday
Holiday
Inn
Inn.
on I-74. Oh, yeah.
And Craig T. Nelson just
Inn.
looks at her.
Good times.
Yeah. So they're all packing up, and he's like, "I've got to go finish some stuff at work."
Yep.
He's like, "So keep packing.
I'll be back tonight."
I'll be back tonight. You can put the kids to bed. We'll get them up. We'll head out as soon as I get back. So we have Diane putting the kids to sleep. Carol Ann,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There isn't a child on the planet that went through what they went through.
would go back to
Let's
that
go
bedroom?
back to that bedroom and
Absolutely
sleep
not.
again.
no,
Not ever.
not ever.
And there's not a mother
That would
on the
put them-
planet that would allow them to go into that bedroom.
By
I don't care
themselves.
if the 4'0" lady said the house is clean. I'm not taking any chances.
Right. So, but she puts them to bed.
Like an idiot.
She's like, "Go to sleep. I'm going to go get in the shower. If you need me, holler." So she takes a shower. She's in her bedroom afterward. The kids are sleeping or they're in bed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's combing her hair. And all of a sudden, Robbie hears the noise and looks over and the clown's gone off the chair.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he looks under the bed.
He looks on the side of the bed.
He doesn't see anything.
And he looks on the other side of the bed.
Other side of the bed. And the camera pans up. And the clown is directly behind him and
Yes.
wraps his arms around him.
Tries to choke him out.
Tries to choke him out and pulls Robbie to the ground. He's screaming.
Yeah.
Carol Ann is screaming. Diane hears it, but all of a sudden she gets sucked onto the bed.
Yeah.
And she is rolling on the walls.
One of the craziest scenes in the movie.
Up the wall, across the ceiling.
They had to have built the set for the room to
Yeah.
spin, so she rolled on it. And so she's getting attacked by the beast, I would assume.
Yeah.
Right? And the closet door
Opens
opens
up.
again. And all of a sudden stuff gets sucking in. And Carol Ann says, "No more.
Yeah.
No more." And I'm like, "Oh,
Poor
the
kid.
poor thing." So I do love this scene.
The actor, whenever they are having him being choked, he is saying like, "Hey, I can't breathe. I can't breathe." And they're like, "Oh yeah, he's just doing improvise." And they're
Right.
like, "Nope,
He couldn't breathe.
couldn't actually breathe."
Oh, shit.
He almost got choked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't think of this scene without thinking of Scary Movie 2 at all.
Yes.
With Ray, they do the exact same thing.
Royals win.
Royals
Nice.
win.
On to the Yankees.
Ugh.
Oh,
Bitches.
Good luck.
We got him.
Yeah.
We got the Yankees.
Yeah, yeah. Ray gets pulled under the bed, and
Yeah.
the clown's like, "Whoa, what are you doing?" He's like, "Ray wants to play."
No!
I do like this scene because I didn't remember this as a kid,
Yeah.
but I love that he beats the crap out of the clown.
Oh yeah,
He is
I ain't going
ripping.
down swinging.
He is ripping that clown
Oh, yeah.
all, and he's like, "I hate you, and he's ripping the insides
out.
of this clown. It's just this fluff flying everywhere. And
Yeah.
then once Diane tries to get to the room, the door slams,
Yeah.
and she goes to touch it, and it shocks her, and she gets thrown back.
all the way back.
Yeah, and then she gets thrown down the stairs. And so she goes to grab the stairs and it shocks her again.
Yeah.
She goes to grab the front door to get help and it shocks her. So she runs around the back. And this is when she falls in the pool.
This is when all the coffins start coming out
Yeah,
through the
and
ground.
all of a sudden, all these skeletons start popping up out of the pool, and you realize they didn't move the cemetery.
didn't move
and
the
this
bodies.
is
They just
what
moved the bodies.
Yeah, this is what has caused all of this.
Yeah.
So she's trying to get out, and I remember this scene being so frustrating as a kid because she's crawling up this mud, and she gets to the edge, and she slides back down into the pool, screaming, and all of these skeletons
the
are down
rainstorm's
there.
going
right.
on, and yeah.
So she grabs a pipe, and she finally gets out, and she gets back in the house, and she climbs up the stairs, and the hallway does
Elongates.
elongates, and it's not long at all in real life.
No.
And it elongates, and she takes off running like with a sprained ankle, and she's like hopping, and she finally just takes off running, and she catches up to the door, and when she opens it, she gets sucked into the room, and she's holding on to the door because Carol Ann and Robbie are both holding on for dear life because the closet is now a giant throat mouth
Yes.
thing with a tongue coming out of
Right.
it, and it's trying to eat them.
Yeah.
And so she's like,
Grab
she
your
finally, it takes,
sister's
she's finally gets Robbie, and she's like, grab your sister's hand, and she pulls him out of the room, and she's trying to escape the house. Craig T. Nelson shows up, and the house is lit up like the 4th of July.
Right.
All the windows are, and he goes up to the front door, and a coffin comes out and blocks her from coming out and him going in, and he's with the boss.
Yeah.
So he goes and grabs the boss, and he was like,
You didn't move the bodies.
you moved the tombstones, but you didn't move the bodies. So the mom gets out. They get out finally after like a struggle, and she gets in the car, and she's like, get the keys, and he's shaking, and it's like that classic, like he can't get
Yeah.
the keys, and he's like, I'm trying.
They go to drive off, and at this time, the oldest daughter shows up.
Yeah, but
and
Robbie's like, Dad, drive.
she starts screaming.
Yeah.
And they're like, get in the car.
And she's still screaming, and they're finally like, get in the car. And they get in the car, but at this point in time, the whole neighborhood's chaos.
What is
Yeah, what is going on?
Right.
Yeah.
Like the house is lit up, cars are flying, coffins are
Coffins are
flying
coming
out of the
air.
ground. There's fire everywhere. Then the house, as they're driving away, starts crumpling up, and it just disappears into like nothingness. And there's just
Collapsed
a lot.
in on itself.
Yeah, it's just a lot. So it got sucked into that mouth, which is chaos. So
Nuts.
they're just driving. No one's saying anything.
No.
They pull up to the Holiday Inn. They're walking. Half of them
Still
don't have
silent.
clothes on. No one says anything. He's looking for the key, and Robbie just reaches up. He has it in his hand. He takes it from him, opens it, shuts the door. Door opens. He shoves the TV out the door, kicks it, slams the door, and the music starts, and
Roll
it pans
credits.
out. I know this is a long review, but I got to tell you, I was so passionate about this movie. I was so excited to do this review.
Glad you liked it.
I love it.
So James Karen at the time was also the commercial spokesman for Pathmark supermarkets, and he received hate mail from people saying that they would never shop there because his character's treatment of the furlings in the movie. So he was the
Wow.
development guy. So yeah.
Wow.
What a douche. You
So-
moved the headstones, but you didn't move the bodies. It's classic.
What do you think, Calvin?
So here's the thing. I really like Poltergeist, but I don't think that I could give it an S. I think that it's definitely an A+ though, just because
Yeah, I'm with
of
you.
how everything is shot, the characters, the acting, the cinematography, even the music composition. Like, I love the way that Spielberg had set up certain shots throughout the movie too. And then there are a lot of parts where you do get, like I said, between Dr. Lesh and the mom, there is genuine emotional parts throughout the movie.
It feels very real.
Right, exactly.
It doesn't feel act.
No.
But what pulls me out of it, like you guys were talking about, I know that this is like a huge trope for like horror movies, especially
Right.
haunted houses, but it does drive me nuts where it's like, yeah, you should all already left by now. It takes me out of the movie as soon as they get Carol Ann out and they're moving and they're like, oh yeah, we're just gonna stay in the house.
I will say though that if all of this crazy stuff is happening all of the time, right? And then it just stops, and you have someone that knew what was going on that tells you, "Hey, it's good now.
We're good
Like, we finished it. It's done. You're
Yeah,
good."
yeah.
And they're still like, "Hey, we're moving.
Yeah.
We're not staying in this house."
No,
Right.
no.
And I'm pretty sure they packed up pretty damn quick.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
It was probably the next day they were like packing up and
Right,
getting
right.
going. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
But I understand what you're saying. Go stay at the hotel tonight. You know what I
Right.
mean?
And then the only other thing too, this isn't a hindrance. I feel like there are so many scenes that I've seen in other movies that took inspiration from this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I've seen those movies before I watched this movie.
Right.
So it kind of degrades some of the impact that this movie has just because I've seen it in other places, even though this was
The
one-
originator.
yeah,
Sure.
the one that did
But I
first.
mean, you should also look at it as how many movies this has inspired.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, to me, this is one of it's so far off from like your classic slasher horror movies.
Yeah.
I don't even know what else to compare it to in the 80s. I mean,
There
wasn't.
any.
I mean, I hate to say this, but Close Encounters is kind of close to it.
Yeah.
Because Close Encounters is still scary.
Yeah.
The scene with the kid in the house, and like there are scenes of that movie that make me feel the same way Poltergeist does, but Poltergeist is scary.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But it has the same feel to it. But I can't think of another movie that is, I don't want to say kid friendly, but like it's rated PG. And it's probably what, PG-13 now?
Yeah.
I would get PG-13
Yeah.
would be
Well,
what it
if
would.
it- yeah, if
Because
it were released
there
today,
was
it'd
no
be
PG-13
PG-13.
at the time at all.
Yeah, it
So-
definitely would have been
It'd be
PG-13.
PG-13. Yeah. But it's not an R movie. You know,
No.
there's no
No.
language in it. There's the one scene with the guy tearing his face off, but you can obviously tell that it's fake.
fake,
You know,
Right.
like it does not look like a man. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But other than that, you know, I don't know. I think that definitely a masterpiece in its own. Like for horror movies, it is like
Just
so
because I gave it an A+ doesn't mean that you guys can't give it an S.
good. I've been thinking about it. I'm very much on the cusp, but I don't know how I could not give it an S with how I feel about it.
Right.
And I didn't know I felt about it until I rewatched it. I'm like,
awesome.
oh, Poltergeist, that's a great movie. And I
Yeah.
rewatched it. I'm like, holy shit, this movie's amazing.
Yeah.
There is something it's saying when you go back and watch a movie that you are fond of and you watch it with a critical eye, you tend to take a little bit more time and absorb what's going on. And there's so many things going on in this movie that just work all the time.
And it's nonstop.
Yeah.
It's
It doesn't give
very
you a
entertaining.
break to catch your breath.
No.
I mean, the only parts, like you said, the conversations between mom and the doctor and the kid where everybody's whispering, those are your little bitty downtimes.
Yeah.
But those are few and far between and quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you get like 2 minutes in
And
that conversation, and then they're like, "All right, we're going in the kitchen now."
that you are paying attention.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
You're engaged
You
with it.
are engaged. Like you're in the conversation.
Yeah, I genuinely want to know how these people are getting by day to day.
Yeah.
In this situation.
Yeah.
Because I know I would have been literally insane. I would have been tearing that house apart.
Yeah.
Right.
She's in the house, I'm going to find her.
Right.
I'll tear out the walls. I don't care. I'm going to find her.
Right.
And that's what I would have been doing because I'm going to rule out every freaking possibility.
And I would love if they would have went Poltergeist 2. I don't dislike Poltergeist 2. It is not the masterpiece that this movie
No.
is to me, but it is scary and entertaining. In fact, I think it's scarier.
That dude in Poltergeist 2 is scarier than any slasher
you
I've
seen
ever
Poltergeist
seen.
2?
No.
Okay,
No.
it's not near as good. I'm
Yeah.
going to give you that.
It's
but
not.
it is scary.
It is scary.
Basically, what happens is they move on, but everything is still attached to Carol Ann.
Oh, really?
It's the same cast.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's the same cast.
Same Carol Ann, same. I think the older daughter's not in it, but Robbie's in it.
Yep.
Older daughter went to college, is how
Yeah.
they explain it. Mom and dad are the same. This has an old preacher man.
Yep.
Wow.
In it,
And he is-
and he's walking down the street in the rain, and Carol Ann's like staring out the door, and he's like whistling, and he walks up to the door. I mean, I got to just show him.
He's creepy as hell.
I don't think that you can talk about Poltergeist without talking about Poltergeist Curse.
Yeah.
And all of the craziness that happened behind the scenes.
It was nuts.
Yeah.
He's just this old preacher guy,
Yeah, he looks great.
and he starts yelling, and the mom's like, "Ee," and shuts the door.
Yeah. It's
But that,
creepy
I
as
need to
hell.
rewatch it because it's been forever.
It has been.
But I know that there is a scene in this movie where the dad, he's an alcoholic.
Yeah,
The dad
yeah.
has turned into an alcoholic, and he's drinking mezcal, and he drinks the worm, and he starts having these terrible stomach cramps.
Yeah.
And he throws up, and this worm comes out of him that's huge, and it scurries under the bed, and it turns into the old man.
No way. Oh my God.
And I'm telling you, that scene terrified me when I was little.
Yeah.
Like, that is scary
For
stuff,
sure.
man.
Back to the first one.
Sorry, yeah, right.
What are you going to give it, Dave?
I think I have to give it an S.
You have to give it an S. Well,
You can do whatever you want.
I'm going to say A+ with Calvin, only because of the parental choices in this movie.
Yeah.
And I know they're potheads and all that, but damn.
They're in their early 30s and the 80s.
Yeah.
Who wasn't?
My parents. Yeah, I give it an A+. I love this movie. It'll never not be scary to me. It'll never not be
Highly,
good.
highly recommended.
Yeah.
If you're a horror movie fan and you've not seen this,
You need to watch
I
it.
question your commitment to your genre.
Yeah,
It's
your dedication
great.
to Sparkle Motion, man. You know,
Right? I don't know what that is.
Donnie Darko.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Been a hot minute.
And you're good.
So
anyway, but
A+.
A+.
A+. I wouldn't even say criticisms. It's so few and far between.
Yeah.
Like it's like right there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if they would have given our characters no way out, like given them a reason why they couldn't go, I would understand.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. It was just free will the whole time.
Right.
And they just made bad choices.
Yeah.
And after the first
agree.
night of, okay, my kid slid across the floor inexplicably. Gotta go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Now, it would have been cool if they would have left and it started happening in the next house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like Insidious.
Yeah.
We're giving this an A+.
Right.
Where would we put this in our A+ range? If you guys need, we have Alien, Mad Max, Fury Road, Prey, Christmas Vacation, Logan, and 12 Years a Slave as our A+ movies.
Pass.
In that order.
It's in the middle there somewhere.
Pass.
Yeah.
I would put that in year 2 in the A+ range.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Also, I did have a piece of feedback
Okay.
from a listener. They would like to know where we are watching these movies.
Oh, okay.
Because they can't seem to find them.
Oh.
all.
Gotcha.
So
Sometimes this one we had to buy. I had to buy it.
I owned it. I
I
watched
owned
on-
it, yeah, but I'm saying the only place you could, you
Was-
can get it on Amazon. If you don't have Fandango,
Yep.
Yeah.
Fandango's the way to go.
yeah, Fandango's great.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are expensive. I think this one was $12.99.
Yeah.
but they have new movies for like $19.99 on there where you own
$25,
it.
yeah.
Where you can own it.
I bought it in a 2-pack with the remake. They had
Oh, wow.
Poltergeist and Poltergeist, the new and old,
Yeah, I need to
together,
watch.
and
I
I
haven't
bought
watched the
them.
remake.
We bought this last year for $10 on. It was formerly known as Vudu, but it's now a Fandango at home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but
so we
can-
do purchase these movies. You
Yeah.
know, we're not like
Right. I mean, if we can find them for free somewhere streaming, we do. Like I watched The Thing
it was on
Peacock.
Peacock, yeah.
I love that, so I've already had it. But yeah,
Yeah.
But we can start doing that too. Of like
Where to
this
watch
is-
it?
Yeah,
That's a
where
great
we can
idea to
watch
add
it,
to the
so-
beginning of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So cool.
Great feedback.
Dope.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
So A+.
A+.
All right.
Good with it.
All right.
All right.
See you
Y'all
guys
get
later.
scared.
See you
Oi,
later.
oi.
Bye.
Oi, oi. Hello and welcome to the Postcast. I wanted to say thank you to all our loyal and new listeners. Shout out to our new listeners and subscribers. Thanks for helping us and supporting us on this journey. We invite you all to check out our Facebook group or check out our Reddit sub. Be sure to tell us what you think the movie should be rated or what movie we should record next. And be sure to follow us wherever podcasts are found. Look for our next Attack on Anime episode as we cover episode 5 of Attack on Titan coming October 10th. Follow along with us. Check out our new Halloween movie review October 14th as we review John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982. We hope you've enjoyed our program just as much as we did recording for you. Thank you, and stay tuned for our next episode.